Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Hart, and today I'm going to be building a lineup of my favorite plays for tomorrow's 10-game NFL slates we have here on DraftKings. $1 million up top to first place, a ton of money for us to take down. Really want one of us to take it down, whether it's me or whether it's one of you guys watching. I do think we have a good shot of taking down that $1 million to first place tomorrow. And yeah, really excited for this slate. Should be a great one. So if you're new to the channel, hit that like button, subscribe, turn on notification bell. I'll be going over, my favorite spin ups, my favorite mid-range plays, and some value plays to look at, all while building a lineup for tomorrow. So once again, hit that like button and let's get into the lineup builder. As always, we have to keep an eye on the news. Still waiting on a bunch of news, especially for the running back and wide receiver situation for this slate tomorrow. But I'm going to be building my favorite, not favorite, but I'm going to be going over some of my favorite plays and building the lineup for tomorrow's slate. So starting off with the quarterbacks. There's a bunch of good quarterbacks to be able to go to for tomorrow. Obviously, the biggest question mark is Josh Allen, because if he's, normal Josh Allen, he looks fantastic, even at the elevated price tag of $8,600 against a bad Minnesota team. But it's just, it's just that coin flip. Either you're going to play him and he's going to be fine with that elbow, or you play him and there's, a huge risk of him not being able to throw, him maybe not being able to run as well, just because they know he can't throw. So Josh Allen, just kind of the risky play there up there to 8,600. Patrick Mahomes looks solid. My only worry is I don't know if Kansas City or if Jacksonville will be able to score enough points to keep this game competitive where Mahomes will have to throw the ball a ton. But he's always, in play. Patrick Mahomes, even if he doesn't throw the ball a ton, he could still get you there with the goal line, random throws he has and little pitches that kind of, throws and touchdowns. But 7,900 looks okay for him. Kyler against the Rams defense, even if he's in, don't love that at all. Getting down to the 6K range, love Tua here against Cleveland. He should be pretty popular, coming off of two very solid games here. Going against another team that has a bad defense in Cleveland. Dak is my favorite contrarian play here. Don't think he'll pick up much ownership going against Green Bay. Green Bay's defense has been okay this year. Not giving up a ton of points, but they still give up points. So I do like Dak. It's a nice contrarian play there. Hasn't really shown much this year, so I don't think people are going to be on him. And the meetings between them have been, pretty competitive, pretty high scoring. The past 12 meetings between the Cowboys and the Packers. So I do like Dak there as my favorite, contrarian play. Fields probably going to be the most popular quarterback play on the slate for good reason. Price tag is way too cheap. Not going to throw you 300 yards. Not going to get you that fancy point bonus for 300 yards on DraftKings. But he can still get those passing touchdowns. Has gotten one in every single game, the past 6 games, past 2, 2, and 3. But what you're getting with Fields is just the massive ceiling when it comes to the rushing upside. Should see at least 8 attempts a game. As we saw last game, 15 attempts for 178. Now, you obviously can't expect that, but going against this terrible Detroit defense, worse than the league, do expect him to really excel in the rushing department. He's been getting a rushing touchdown in the past 3 games as well. So Fields, very easy to get to, very cheap, in the best spot possible. Very hard not. He's going to be super popular to the point where it's like, even fading him at like high ownership is going to be hard to do because of how good the matchup looks. And it's like one of those things, he doesn't have to throw it and he can still go out there and get you 20 fantasy points. And the cherry on top is you don't have to play any pass catchers in the fields because of how well he does with rushing the ball. Like, he can go out there and get 24 fantasy points and his pass catchers can get 10 or less. Like, Fields, it's going to be super hard not to play him, especially if you're only playing, a few lineups, one at most. It's going to be super hard, super risky fade. But it is the Bears. They always could come out and lay a goose egg and just look terrible, even in a smash spot against Detroit. I will warn that they are the Bears. That happens frequently, even though they've been looking very solid the past 2 games. I still will warn you on that. But yeah, Fields looks fantastic. Kirk against Buffalo defense, don't love that. Russell Wilson, I'd pair him, Rodgers, and I'd say Trevor Lawrence as, cheaper contrarian plays there. Obviously, Rodgers going against Dallas, not a lot of pass catchers on his side. It doesn't look great, but, he's Aaron Rodgers, one of the best quarterbacks ever. If you want to get to extremely low ownership, you can look to him. Same thing with Russ. A little bit better of pass catchers for him against the Tennessee defense. Don't mind it if you want to get super contrarian for this big $1 million first tournament. Carr, not for me. He's lost too many people. Hunter Renfro's out. Darren Waller's out. So I don't think you need to look to Derek Carr at all. Stafford questionable against Arizona. He just hasn't looked good this year. All he does is throw to Cooper Kupp. So Stafford is just not in play, even against a bad Arizona defense. And then Jared Goff, the last quarterback I'll mention, 5,500. Great price for him. Great matchup going against this Bears team who is terrible at defense. I mean, Goff is just, all over the place. 16 and a half, 26, 14, 37, 7, 5, 21, 12. I mean, super, super risky getting them, but obviously it's a great spot going against the Bears. So if you want to get off super chalky fields, you can definitely look to Goff. Doesn't feel the best. Obviously doesn't have rushing upside, but good matchup here. So I think for the quarterback, let's just rock and roll with Fields. Let's just be chalky for right now and roll Fields at quarterback. For the running back situation, Saquon obviously looks like the best running back play on the slate, and he's priced as so, going against the worst rushing defense in the league right now in Houston. And, the thing with Saquon is he's the whole team. It's not like they throw the ball and, Saquon is doing his thing. It's pretty much all Saquon. It's the Saquon Barkley show. So if their offense is doing well, it's because of Saquon. So obviously, he looks fantastic here against Houston. Pretty expensive, but he should be pretty easy to get to. Henry and Chubb, pretty much the same running backs. They've both been fantastic the past, pretty much the whole season since, week one. They're very scoring dependent when it comes to, they need touchdowns to pay off their price tags. They're not going to get a bunch of looks when it comes to, passes out the backfield. But for their respective price tags, I think they look great or pretty solid. Denver and, Miami, two defenses that do give up rushing yards. So I think there'll be more contrarian plays there at the top. People are going to want to pay down for other running backs. But yeah, I think Saquon is going to be super popular. Henry and Nick Chubb should be kind of overlooked. Cook against Buffalo doesn't look great. I do think this, this range right here, the 72 to 76 range is another range that will be kind of overlooked. Jacobs coming off of 2 terrible games after he came off the 3 30-plus fantasy point games, going against a terrible Indiana team. I will mention Hunter Renfrow is ruled out. Darren Waller is ruled out. So that means probably more opportunities for guys like Devontae Adams and guys like Josh Jacobs. So I do like going to, Josh Jacobs here. I like buying low on players who've done bad recently. He's a prime candidate, especially against a terrible Indiana team. The game should be close, so they should always be able to run it here with Josh Jacobs. On the other side of that game, Jonathan Taylor, no one's going to play him because the price is up and the team's just terrible. But they did bring in Jeff Saturday. They're going to have a new offense coordinator. Maybe if you want to get super, super risky, you can look to Jonathan Taylor as a contrarian play there. I don't hate it. Should be like 1% owned. So yeah, you can definitely look to him against a bad rushing defense in Las Vegas. Kamara, Aaron Jones. I prefer getting to Aaron Jones just because I don't know. I prefer getting Aaron Jones, I guess, just because he's got Aaron Rodgers throwing the ball. Don't trust Andy Dalton as much. Yeah, not much to say in both of them. I think they look solid at their prices and their roles. ETN going to be one of the most popular plays on the slates just because of how much he's getting the ball. 24, 156, a touchdown. 28, 109, 2 touchdowns. Hasn't been involved in the passing game a lot recently, the past 2 weeks, but he definitely can. Especially if they go down in this game, he will get involved in the passing game. I'm just the only question mark for this, especially going against a Kansas City team that gives up a ton of rushing yards. They're not good against the rush. My only issue is that, Kansas City gets out to a 2-touchdown lead. I don't think ETN's going to see 20-plus touches. He could, but I do think there is a pretty low floor for him, especially at 7,100 and with how much ownership he's going to get. I do think you could definitely fade him. It could kill you, but I do think you easily fade him, and it's not going to, absolutely tank you like it would like a guy like maybe Saquon does. Other than that, Pollard looks pretty solid there. 6,500 should be running back 1 for Dallas again. I do like the 6K range when it comes to Swift as like a contrarian play here. Obviously not starting yet. Still limited when it comes to his attempts just because, he's coming off an injury. But yeah, I do think, against the Bears, you can definitely take a shot on Swift because he has a pretty safe floor because he's going to see, multiple targets a game. especially when they get closer to the red zone, they will throw the ball to him. So he does have that upside there, especially against this bad Bears defense. So I don't hate going to him as a bring back. Pierce, always worth mentioning just because of his usage, but not going against not a great matchup here for him against that Giants defense. But we saw it last week against Philadelphia. He tore them up, and they're not afraid to just keep rushing the ball even if they're down multiple touchdowns. So he's always been played 6,300. Monty, do like him a good amount. Hasn't really flashed upside. Ownership should be very minimal. I do think he'll get a little bit just because of the matchup here against Detroit with how they're the worst defense in the league. But yeah, I do like Monty a good amount here, 6,000. I do think you could definitely pair him alongside Justin Fields. Now, I guess that's a little bit negative EV, but I do think you can definitely do that. Jamal Williams will be pretty popular, number one running back for Detroit right now, just because of Swift and his injuries. So you can look to Jamal Williams, should be popular. Good matchup. That's it. Really it. I don't like getting him. Never seems to work out when I get to him. In this 5K range, not a lot I like really. Really not a lot I like. Yeah, so as of right now, it's gonna be hard not to play Saquon in that prime matchup. And then if you want to pay down for someone, let's just say I'm gonna get super risky right now and just get with Swift. In wide receivers, obviously at the top, Tyreek looks fantastic. We know what we're gonna get from him. Cooper Kupp only in play if Stafford is in play for obvious reasons. Jefferson, I think he's going to have low ownership just because he's going against that Buffalo defense. Now, he will still pick up some because he is Justin Jefferson, but I do think you can easily fade him. I think my favorite play would be Devontae Adams, 8,700. They don't have Waller. They don't have Hunter Renfrow, as we saw last game. 17 targets. He should be in line to see 10-plus targets in this game against a terrible Indiana team, so I do like him a good amount. Diggs looks great, only if you think Josh Allen's going to be able to throw the ball. If not, don't think you go there. Don't like DeAndre Hopkins against this Rams D. I think Waddle looks fantastic here against Cleveland, 7,600. Not going to see as much opportunity as Tyreek Hill, but he's been super productive when he does get the ball. So I love him here at 7,600. One of my favorite plays at the wide receiver position. St. Brown, Olave, CeeDee Lamb, I think they all look fantastic. Even Cooper. I really like this kind of the 6.5 to 7K range for these wide receivers. I think they all have really good matchups. Even CeeDee, I think he's a great matchup. They're all going to see at least 8+ targets in their respective spots. So I really like all those guys. I do like Lazard a good amount here too. If you're going to play that, Dak stack with a bring back. Smith should pick up some ownership just because McCall Hardman is out. He's been solid the past few games. Few of them, he's had some big touchdown plays that are a little bit lucky. I will mention that, but he looks decent. Kirk, decent bring back option, coming off of 10 targets, 7 and 9. He looks decent. I will mention Sutton just because he's usually a big play wide receiver. Obviously, the offenses look terrible. The targets have really come down the past few games, but before that, he was seeing about 10 targets a game. So I do like him a good amount there. It's kind of a contrarian play. Mooney, I guess in play if you want to play Fields. I don't think you need to force a wide receiver or tight end with Fields. If you want to, I'd say obviously Mooney looks solid. You can get to Claypool. He should see, some more targets now that he's got another week in the system with the Bears. Big play wide receiver. They should look to get him involved more. That really does it. Gallup, if you're going to play Dak, looks pretty solid. Pickens looks decent. I will mention like Mac Hollins. He's in play. It was very solid when those guys were out, against Tennessee, 32. Obviously, you can't really expect that, but, he will get some targets, so you can look to him as a cheap wide receiver play. Same thing with Khalif Raymond. Obviously, we're waiting on a ton of news still, but, yeah, Khalif Raymond with no Josh Reynolds should be wide receiver 2 for them. He's been decent value play there. But, yeah, to fill out the rest of the wide receivers, pretty chalky lineup right now, pretty expensive, so it's going to be hard to get to these wide receivers. Do think you need some value plays. Let's see here. Let's just do Claypool right now. And then I'm going to do, actually, I'll leave that other wide receiver spot open for right now. Tight end situation, Kelsey looks great against Jacksonville. We know we're getting from him. Hawkinson looks decent. I just don't love the matchup there against the Bills defense. Ertz has, I guess, been one of the most consistent tight ends. Pretty much, 10 fantasy points or more every game. So you can definitely look to him. But my favorite route to go to is kind of down here in the 3K range. I love Schultz. 7 targets, caught 6 of them, 74 yards. He's going to be a great play here for Dak. Dak likes throwing to him. Tanyan looks pretty solid. This doesn't have huge big play opportunities with Tanyan. Dolchich going to be super, super popular. He's been very, very productive the past 3 games that he's been in and played. So you definitely look to him. But I think Foster Moreau is going to be one of my favorite plays. No Darren Waller. The targets are there, 5, 9, 5. I do expect him to get a few more targets as well. 3,200, too cheap here. Darren Waller, obviously it's a little bit risky, playing Foster. They do prefer to run it, but I think he looks very solid there at 3,200. And then for defenses, we got the Cowboys at the top. Look very solid. One of the best defenses in the league, going against a pretty bad offense right now in the Green Bay. Giants against Houston looks okay. Raiders against Las Vegas, or Raiders against Indiana looks okay. Bills. Let's see here. I think my favorite would be I don't know. Not a lot. I think it's one of those where you can definitely punt the slates. Get away with like maybe a Colts defense, maybe the Texans defense. Not really much. I mean, I guess the best looking defense looks like either like the Cowboys or the Bills, but maybe Giants. I don't know. The defenses, I think, is one of those weeks where there's not really a huge standout play. You can definitely punt with the defenses. Let's just throw in the Colts for now as a cheap one. 5,200 left over to kind of fill out this lineup. Wide receivers, I guess we'll start there. 5,200. So we got Fields, Claypool. We got to bring back with Swift. We got Barkley, Waddle. Let's see here. Foster. I do like low contrarian, double tight end. But I do like that. And then at least a 6,600 left over. Let's see here. Pollard, Cooper. Good amount of plays I like here in this range, but I do think I'm going to get to Cooper just for that bring back going against Waddle. So yeah, this is kind of the lineup I've fallen upon for this a little bit of a slate breakdown. Obviously Fields looks fantastic. Barkley looks fantastic. Swift going to be super contrarian, super low owned there as a play. Love Waddle. He'll be pretty decently owned. Claypool, he'll garner a little bit of ownership. But I do think just because he's new to the team, it'll still be a little bit low, even with a ton of people playing Fields. I love Cooper for that bring back with Waddle. Foster, I think he's a great candidate there as a cheap tight end, and I love the double tight end play with Schultz going against Green Bay. In the Colts defense, just as a punt defense, it's not really a huge stance on the defenses right now. But yeah, this is kind of the slate breakdown / lineup build for tomorrow's Sunday football slate. So if you're new to the channel, hit that like button, subscribe, turn on the notification bell. I really appreciate all the support recently. It's been huge. I can't thank you guys enough. And I'll see you guys in tomorrow's Sunday NBA slate breakdown. Peace.